Good afternoon everybody, and a very warm welcome to Ringwood South. And today I have a much overdue layout update for you. A lot has changed on the layout in terms of I've been really cracking on with some bits and pieces, which has taken a lot of time and effort. So the actual progress on the layout seems quite slow, but there has been a lot of work done on it, which when you see what I've been up to, I'm sure you'll be able to appreciate. I've got some new infrastructure. I've got a few newbies to show you in terms of I've got a rolling stock update. So I've got a few newbies to show you. I've also got some locos to show you that that I've been chipping away at from Beringer to bring them onto Ringwood South. So there's a few of those on the layout as well. So slowly but surely we're starting to get through some of the locomotives in my fleet. There's still a lot more locomotives to chip and to sort out, but slowly catchy monkey will get there in the end. And let's get on with the layout update. So if you're interested, just stay tuned and find out more. So see you in a bit. So firstly, I thought we'd start with a layout update. And since I'm sitting down here, I just thought before I stand up and start moving around, I thought I'd just start here and show you at the station end. Basically, the station building has had a complete repaint, and it's an old Hornby Scaledale station. It wasn't like this before. Even on Beringer, it was still in its original colours, except I just painted a canopy and doors red. On this occasion, I actually completely repainted the building apart from the roofs, but everything else has been completely repainted. I was a bit worried about doing it because I thought I might lose the detail on the brickwork, but I needn't have worried, and in that it's looking much better, and it's been toned down and weathered, and it looks absolutely great. So I'm going to be using this building. I was toying with some of my other station buildings as to which one I was going to use, but I think I've settled on this one. So it's now making a reappearance, this time on Ringwood South. To go along with that, I've also repainted this Hornby Scaledale building completely. This is from the Magna range, I think it was. I think it's like a Magna waiting room or something. And as you may have noticed, it's now sitting on a new platform, which has also been painted, weathered and detailed in terms of its basic platform. The same techniques as I applied in Beringer. In terms of the matchsticks given the lip on the end, because it's a straight platform, I use the matchsticks instead of the strips of card. So that kind of concludes the station area, and then we'll just move on. So the next thing of note is this signal box, and this is a Gauge Master Ford Hampton signal box. And this signal box was actually inspired by my recent trip to the Midhants Railway. And to be honest with you, I didn't really need another signal box because I had a couple of signal boxes to hand. I had a BR Type 1 and one that kindly Graham from Lakeside had donated to me and given to me. I still have those two, but I just didn't feel it was quite right. And I saw this and I thought, yeah, we're going to go with this. So this is a kit that had to be put together and had to be painted, and I haven't bothered weathering it because I wanted to try and keep it relatively clean and pristine. And yeah, so that's a new sort of infrastructure to the layout. As I move further along, we're going to go to, sorry, it's a bit tricky with me getting around here. Now getting to the warehouses, and I've made a start on the warehouses. Well, not made a start, but I've made a cracking start on it, to be honest with you, because the last time you saw this, it was literally a piece of MDF. And now it's actually got some sort of semblance of a building. The platform's been completely finished. So that's, and then also using the sort of matchstick technique, and it's been kind of got the plasticard that I used on my scratch build was the plasticard that I used to line the platform edging. It's the same plasticard, and I just painted it, I treated it slightly different to what I did the building. This, as you can imagine, has taken up a lot of my time. In fact, I spent the whole of yesterday virtually doing this, because as I'm sure you can appreciate, there's a lot of windows, and I had to work out the configuration as to how I wanted to do this. Unfortunately, I've heard nothing back from the chap that I was hoping to get the windows from, which is fine by me. It's a little bit irritating because I would have hoped to have got some sort of response. He was supposed to get back to me, but he never did. But I've got another way around this, so it doesn't really bother me too much. So there is a plan B in hand to do the windows. And as you can see, the actual main, if I just take this one away, it's basically the same MDF, but I've just painted it black. And obviously with the holes for the windows at the back, so you can see the black coming through, so rather than the MDF. And then I'll basically paint in the windows. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So that's what it kind of looks like. On this end, I've created an arch, and that's so my lorry, my Arctic Stobart lorry, can get in and out. And what I also did is I stuck my 08 on there, on the back of that, because that's my tallest locomotive, so I can create enough height so I can get this lorry with the 08 on the back of it through that arch at the back there. So like I said, I'm sure you can appreciate that has taken up a huge amount of my time, and that was yesterday pretty much all day, because it's very, very painstaking, as you can probably see by the grids, to make sure that they're all lined up correctly, they're all the same size holes. It took some doing, and like I said, it was a bit of a boring, it wasn't necessarily a difficult job, it was more of a boring job because it took so long to actually cut these individual windows, but I'm glad I did it. The thing is, I've still got to put the round circular ones on the top, so those are the ones that I've got to do next, before I can actually plastic card it all and do that. Right, the next bit is I'm going to show you. Bear with me a second. This whole panel on the back has been repainted green. It used to be red, as many of you would know, but I really felt that the green was actually better, and that it would go and be in more keeping with what I was actually doing, with the layout and in the direction in which it was going. So I decided to put it into the green. I actually prefer it, and the red was also bouncing off the wall and creating all sorts of reflections and glare and all the rest of it, so it was better to have the green. So I've just repainted this whole lot green, and here is my Prodigy Express that I use with the cradle. The cradle I got from DCC Coastal. And also, as we move along, I've also changed this around. Basically, I got rid of the cassette, which I still have a cassette, but I've decided to do it like this because it makes my life a lot more easier without me having to chop and change locomotives all the time. And this kind of leads me on nicely to my newbies, and also locos that I've been put back into service. So the first one, I mean, you've seen the 50, because that one's actually got sound in that one. This has got Southwest Digital sound on it, I think it is. This one, it's got Southwest Digital on it. My two newbies, well, actually one newbie here is this one here, which, well, it's hard to tell because there's quite a lot of them here. It's the 101 in green. I picked this one up as a bargain from Hatton's, and this was to replace my 105, which I had no end of issues with, and thankfully the 101 was a lot easier to fit a decoder in than the 105, so much so that my other 101, which is right next to it, my blue-grey one, has also since had a decoder fitted into it, and also been brought back into line to run on Ringwood South. So I've got those two DMUs to run, as well as this 156, which has been running. I've also been experimenting with sound chips. My understanding of sound chips isn't great. I'm still new to DCC, so I'm still trying to work out the ins and outs of various decoders, and I have got a mixture of decoders on it. Some I've got Hornby, some I've got Batman, but recently I've decided to start trying out. I wanted to try out Lay's DCC, which you get the decoders off of eBay, and basically they're a lot cheaper than the Hornby and the Bachmann. And I'm not really overly keen on using Hornby decoders, to be honest with you. I have had issues with some, especially the TTS ones with the slightly dodgy running at times. So I'd rather fit an 8-pin Bachmann rather than an 8-pin Hornby. But I've decided to experiment a little bit with these other decoders which are cheaper, and see how I get on with those. And that 156 over there has actually got a Lay's DCC decoder in it. That particular decoder that's in that was actually given to me, and I've been running it for a while and I was quite happy with it, so I thought I'd buy a few more. And so I will tell you which ones have got it, and the majority haven't. I've only bought 3 with this and this one as well. One of them's gone into my newbie, one of them's gone into another one that's just been brought back into service, and the other one is an 8-pin one which has gone into Ajax, which is this class 50 over here, which has also been entered service on the layout from Behringer. But this 50 was an absolute pain to put a decoder in. The reason for that is there's various issues. You've got to be so careful with a class 50 when removing bodies, because the actual body itself isn't necessarily that difficult because it's clipped in. However, in saying that, I bought this 50 absolutely brand spanking new, and I never had the body off. And what Hornby did, which I didn't know because of all my other 50s are just clipped in. Now with this one it is clipped in, but it's got the addition of self-adhesive tape, which made it even more difficult to get the body off. So I eventually got the body off, but unfortunately one of the buffers pinged, which I had to glue back. I can't remember which one it was now, to be honest, because basically the buffers don't actually go that far into the body, so they fall off quite quickly. But luckily you won't notice it, and you don't even know that's even happened. Another thing to be careful with is the louvres, to make sure you don't damage those. And also these down here are also extremely fragile when handling a 50. Do not handle them with these, because you'll snap them right off. If you handle a 50, handle them through the fuel tanks here. That is the safest way to handle a 50. And also when you remove the body, you need to remove this cable here, because it's connected from the body onto the chassis, so you just need to unclip that. But that being said, I got it done and it's now up and running, and I am grateful that it's actually up and running. Another one which has re-entered service is this class 20. It was running for a while, but then I took the chip out to put onto another locomotive, but now it's actually got its own dedicated chip, so that's now definitely back in service. And like I said, so the reintroduction of my 50, the 101 and the 20, as well as my new 101 green, these are all welcome additions to the layout. Also reintroduced to the layout is this class 56. I'm just going to remove the breakdown train out of the way so we can get a bit of a closer look. Those of you who watched my last video will probably have known that I did a sort of like a how I take the body off and fitted a decoder into it, and just went over some of the issues that you get with these 56s. And I had a lighting issue with this one, and its sister on the back there, which has also recently been reintroduced into service. So these two 56s have been brought back to life onto the layout. Also, let's come back onto the layout, is this 25. This particular 25 came back onto the layout today. And this has also got a Lay's chip in it, rather than a Bachmann. And I tell you what, this 25, the 25s are absolutely easy peasy to fit a decoder in. It has been the easiest decoder fitting I have done so far on any of my locomotives, and I just wish that all my other locomotives were this easy to fit a locomotive. It was just sorry, to fit a decoder, because this was so easy. If all the locomotives were this easy to fit a decoder, it would make my life so much easier. But some of them really are a pain. Like I said, these 256s at the back were particularly painful, as well as that 50. A a word on this 25. This 25 has a bit of a meaning to me. Not this particular 25, but when I was a kid and I got my Intercity 125, which was my first train set I ever got. It came with a catalogue, a Hornby catalogue, and there was a distinct picture that I won't forget because I just remember it. And it had a picture of a blue 25 on it, and I always loved the 25 in blue. And I actually used this 25 a lot on Beringer. It was a well-used locomotive on Beringer, and it was just absolutely bulletproof. And so I'm happy to have it back in service here at Ringwood South. Another one of my faves is this Class 33 Crompton, and this is another locomotive that was used pretty heavily at Beringer and has been put back into service here on Ringwood South. So it's another blue one that's come back into service. So slowly but surely, like I said, we're getting through some of the locomotives. And I absolutely love this loco as well. It's such a smooth runner, so I'm glad to have it back online. So here we have on this line of locomotives are two recent additions, and the one in front of you, the 25, this arrived today. I've been after this particular 25 for some time, and as you know, as I just mentioned with my 25, with my blue one, I do have a soft spot for 25s. I love the sound of them, and this is another one weathered by Bachmann, and she's absolutely adorable. I love it. It has been chipped up already, so I fitted that with a lace chip as well. So we're going to see how we get on with these lace chips, and if it's a case that they do work well for me, it will save me a lot of money. In fact, it will save me so much money that I'll be able to use the money that I've saved to buy a sound chip for a locomotive. So that's how much I could save potentially if I'm happy with these chips. The next one along is another new recruit. This is come off of eBay, this one. The 25 was brand new today. This particular 20 come off of eBay, second hand, but I do have a thing for 20s, and this particular 20 was inspired also along with a signal box from my recent visit to the Midhants Railway. So that, you know, that's why I got this one, and I absolutely love this one. It's so beautiful. And the thing is with this one, this is an early Class 20. Those of you who don't know, the newer 20s have got a 21 pin, but this is an 8-pin Class 20 by Bachmann. And so that means that if you want to put a sound chip, it's a lot easier to put a sound chip onto this one because you don't need the adapter. So there's a tip for any of you guys that are interested in getting a Class 20 by Bachmann. If you want to put sound in it and use a TTS chip, get one of the early ones. Because they will have an 8-pin socket in it, and if it doesn't say it, or it says it's DC ready and it doesn't actually tell you what it is, you can always Google the information and put that code into Google, and it will give you the specifications of the locomotive and tell you whether it is DCC ready or not, and whether it's an 8-pin or 21-pin. So that's always a good way to find out. Sometimes when I go on eBay and looking for locomotives and they just put good condition or something like that, and they don't really give you much more information, and I'm interested, I'll generally go on Google and find out exactly more information about it to see whether it's DCC ready or whether it's got a chip in it or whatever. So that's kind of a few tips for you guys. Another one that's come back into service is my other Crompton, my Burma Star. Again, this saw some action at Beringer, not a huge amount, but it does give another option, along with my Class 73, which is still knocking about here on the ballast train. So that gives me another little option. Again, like I said, Helgian 33s just run so smooth. I love them, so they're fantastic. And again, they're very easy to fit a chip onto these ones. The 20s are not too bad actually. This one was pretty easy to fit a chip into it as well. It's a bit tight. You have to sort of kind of work out where it's going to go, but once you found out, generally it goes in the nose. The actual chip, you put it in vertically and it fits in. Next one along is my teddy bear, which I showed you some time ago when I was originally scratch building, but now that now has a chip in it and it's running. This one was another one which is a complete nightmare to put a chip in. It's a complete pain in the neck to do this one as well, mainly because of its size. And then you've got the 08 behind, which you've seen previously. So that pretty much covers the whole layout update. So from Ringwood South, it's bye from me, and hopefully soon I will actually gather to get some time, not get some time, but do a running session, because I've never done a running session on this layout as yet. There's a bit of me that kind of doesn't want to do a running session on this, just purely because it just, at the moment in its current state, it's not, I don't find it that it's that interesting to look at, because I mean we're getting there, but I mean in terms of there's no ballast, there's no scenery, it's just kind of like still relatively plain, and so, but we shall endeavour to carry on with that. But slowly catch your monkey, as they say. So from Ringwood South, goodbye and enjoy your Saturday afternoon. So bye from Ringwood South.